Hello, here's our story again. Today I'm going to let the voice on Think Central read it, but I'm going to jump in every now and then and ask some really important questions to better help you understand the story. So let's get started. Officer Buckle and Gloria, written and illustrated by Peggy Rathman.
Officer Buckle knew more safety tips than anyone in Napville. Every time he thought of a new one, he thumbtacked it to his bulletin board. Safety tip number 77. Never stand on a swivel chair.
Now, boys and girls, why do you think he came up with safety tip number 77? Look at the picture. Do you think it's because he stood on a swivel chair and he fell? Yes, you never want to stand on a swivel chair. It can be very dangerous. So even Officer Buckle is still learning some safety tips.
Officer Buckle shared his safety tips with the students at Napville School. Nobody ever listened. Sometimes there was snoring. Afterward, it was business as usual. Mrs. Topple, the principal, took down the welcome banner. Never stand on a swivel chair, said Officer Buckle, but Mrs. Topple didn't hear him.
So how does the picture on this page go along with what was just read? Look at what's happening in the picture. And looking at what is read there is that nobody ever listened. How can we tell they didn't listen? I see all kinds of unsafe things going on here. All this big stack of books and we're always telling kids at school to tie their shoes, right? And there she is. She's standing on a swivel chair, but she didn't hear him. It said it was business as usual. That means they went back to what they always did before, even though it wasn't safe.
Then, one day, Napville's police department bought a police dog named Gloria. When it was time for Officer Buckle to give the safety speech at the school, Gloria went along. Children, this is Gloria, announced Officer Buckle. Gloria obeys my commands. Gloria, sit. And Gloria sat.
I want to stop here and ask, what do you think the problem in the story is? If you said that it was that nobody listens to Officer Buckle's safety tips, that would be correct.
Officer Buckle gave safety tip number 1. Keep your shoelaces tied. The children sat up and stared. Officer Buckle checked to see if Gloria was sitting at attention. She was. Safety tip number 2, said Officer Buckle. Always wipe up spills before someone slips and falls. The children's eyes popped. Officer Buckle checked on Gloria again. Good dog, he said. Officer Buckle thought of a safety tip he had discovered that morning.
All right, so let's talk about this sentence right here. The children's eyes popped. Did their eyes really pop? What does that mean? It means their eyes got really, really big because they were so surprised. What were they surprised about? Look at where they're looking. They're all watching Gloria. Now, we've talked about this before, but why is everybody so surprised at Gloria? Do dogs typically act like this? And does Officer Buckle know what's going on? I don't think so.
Never leave a thumbtack where you might sit on it. The audience roared.
So why is Gloria jumping up in the air? She's pretending that she sat on a thumbtack. Now, how can you tell that Officer Buckle doesn't know anything about what's going on and what Gloria's doing? He's got his back to her the whole time. She's behind him and she's acting out his safety tips. And what does he think the children are laughing at? He thinks they're laughing at him.
Officer Buckle grinned. He said the rest of the tips with plenty of expression. The children clapped their hands and cheered. Some of them laughed until they cried. Officer Buckle was surprised. He had never noticed how funny safety tips could be. After this safety speech, there wasn't a single accident.
And why weren't there any accidents? There weren't any accidents because they were finally listening to his tips.
The next day, an enormous envelope arrived at the police station. It was stuffed with thank you letters from the students at Knapville School. Every letter had a drawing of Gloria on it. Officer Buckle thought the drawings showed a lot of imagination.
And why did they show a lot of imagination? He thought they were all made up. Because look at some of the pictures. Gloria standing up on her back legs. See, remember, he doesn't know what she's doing behind his back. So he doesn't know that she's doing all of those things.
His favorite letter was written on a star-shaped piece of paper. It said, "You and Gloria make a good team. Your friend, Claire. P.S. I always wear a crash helmet. Safety tip number 7. Officer Buckle was thumbtacking Claire's letter to his bulletin board when the phones started ringing. Grade schools, high schools, and daycare centers were calling about the safety speech. Officer Buckle, they said, our students want to hear your safety tips, and please bring along that police dog.
So why do you think they kept asking Officer Buckle to bring along the dog? Because they heard about what Gloria did, and the kids want to see it too.
Officer Buckle told his safety tips to 313 schools. Everywhere he and Gloria went, children sat up and listened. After every speech, Officer Buckle took Gloria out for ice cream. Officer Buckle loved having a buddy.
So there are some things in the story that the reader knows that the main character here, Officer Buckle, does not know. Why do you think the author would do that? Does that help make the story funny? Thinking that he's giving his safety tips and everybody's listening to him, but what the kids are really watching is Gloria act out the tips. That makes the story a little more interesting and funny because Officer Buckle is very serious about his safety tips, but Gloria is pretty silly.
Then one day, a television news team videotaped Officer Buckle in the State College auditorium. When he finished safety tip number 99, do not go swimming during electrical storms, the students jumped to their feet and applauded.
Even though the words are a little messed up on this page, notice the capital letters. Do not go swimming during electrical storms. Why do you think the author would put those in capital letters? So that when somebody goes to read them, they read them with a little more emphasis because that's a pretty important safety tip.
Bravo! Bravo! They cheered. Officer Buckle bowed again and again. That night, Officer Buckle watched himself on the 10 o'clock news. The next day, the principal of Knappville School telephoned the police station. "Good morning, Officer Buckle. It's time for our safety speech." Officer Buckle frowned. "I'm not giving any more speeches. Nobody looks at me anyway." "Oh," said Mrs. Topple. "Well, how about Gloria? Could she come?"
All right, we have a big change in the story here. Everything was going along just great for Officer Buckle and Gloria. He had no idea what Gloria was doing, but then he saw it on the news. This is a mirror back behind Officer Buckle and Gloria. And so we can see what's on the TV. And what Officer Buckle is seeing is what Gloria really does behind his back when he's giving his safety speeches. How do you think he felt about that? I think he was pretty mad at Gloria for doing that. And then I think he also realized that the kids weren't really listening to his speeches, or they weren't there to see him. They were really there to see Gloria. And they still want Gloria to come. And he decides he is not going to give the speeches anymore. Gloria can go by herself.
Someone else from the police station gave Gloria a ride to the school. Gloria sat on stage looking lonely. Then she fell asleep. So did the audience. After Gloria left, Knappville School had its biggest accident ever. It started with a puddle of banana pudding. Splat, splatter, sploosh! Everyone slid smack into Mrs. Topple, who screamed and let go of her hammer. Analyze the text. Humor. What happens when the people don't follow Officer Buckle's tips? How does the author make what happens seem funny?
If we think about it, people getting hurt, not really very funny. It's not nice to laugh at someone when they get hurt. It makes them feel bad. But in the story, the author, who also drew the pictures, made it seem a little funnier because of how extreme what is going on in her pictures are. So that makes it seem funnier. Hopefully nobody would really fall like that or get hurt like that. It's exaggerated.
The next morning, a pile of letters arrived at the police station. Every letter had a drawing of the accident. Officer Buckle was shocked. At the bottom of the pile was a note written on a paper star. Officer Buckle smiled. The note said, "Gloria missed you yesterday. Your friend, Claire. P.S. Don't worry, I was wearing my helmet. Safety tip number 7.
All right, so Officer Buckle, before when he got a pile of letters, they were basically fan mail saying how wonderful they loved the safety presentation, mostly because of Gloria. Well, remember, Officer Buckle hadn't gone to this safety presentation. It was just Gloria. And, well, Gloria didn't do much, did she? She just sat there and fell asleep. And the kids didn't learn anything. So they were not safe again. Officer Buckle was shocked. Why do you think he was shocked? Was he shocked that he had gotten letters? Or was he shocked that things had gone so badly that before they had listened to the safety tips and were safe, but now they weren't?
Gloria gave Officer Buckle a big kiss on the nose. Officer Buckle gave Gloria a nice pat on the back. Then Officer Buckle thought of his best safety tip yet.
All right, so we have a switch in the story. We go from where Gloria was giving the speech and it didn't go so great, and then there were big accidents, And then the letters show up, and Officer Buckle smiles because he knows that it wasn't just Gloria who gave a good safety presentation, it was them together as a team. And I think Gloria realized that too.
Safety tip number 101. Always stick with your buddy.
And there they are at the end of the story. So, do you think from that point on, did Officer Buckle and Gloria always do their safety speeches together? I think so too. All right, so we have some questions. All right, so your turn. So, our essential question was, why is it important to follow safety rules? And I'm going to change the size of this a little bit so that it looks a little more normal. There we go. Why is it important to follow safety rules? Look for ideas in the words and pictures in Officer Buckle and Gloria. You could share with somebody at home. Why do you think it's important to follow safety rules? I think it's important because people might get hurt if they don't. Now think and talk about these questions with someone at home. What events in the story cause other events to happen? Think about what made the accident in the school happen in the first place. Do you remember what caused that accident? It was banana pudding spilled on the floor. That caused the kids to slide and get hurt. How is Gloria different from real police dogs? How might the children at the schools change after Officer Buckle and Gloria visit? Tell why you think so.